let's just get going. Mitch, you are going to help with introducing our new members. I think one of them is not making it today, though, right?
No, he has just joined us. So yeah, I thought because we have 4 new members of the Executive Council who have joined us at this meeting, we should have them each say hello and have them just say a few words about themselves. We have voted to put them on the board, but this will give them a chance to kind of share their story in their own words. And I guess we can go in alphabetical order, starting with the newest person to join this call. And in full disclosure, I can actually see his house from where I'm sitting right now. Peter Anderson.
Thanks. That's what comes from getting here late, right? You gotta go first.
Yeah, exactly. Last to come, first to get called on.
Yeah, there you go. Well, it's the great thing about going first is I can be really, really short. So it's great to meet you. Yeah, my name is Peter Anderson. I am recently back in the North Country a year ago last July. And I grew up in Ottawa, so super happy to be back near family. My wife's family is in Burlington. I was a professor for a very long time and decided in part of this move, which was a spousal hire, to rebrand myself as a consultant for organizations around emotional intelligence and emotional culture. So,
where are you living, Pete?
I'm living in Potsdam. Yeah.
Oh, in Potsdam. We know that.
Yes. and my dog, who's very happy to have been to have had a shout out on the radio the other day, is Susie.
Yes, and I shared the picture with staff. We have a great picture of his dog with headphones on, purportedly listening to NCPR. But we don't know if he'd made any requests to the Radio Bob show or not. All right, so thanks, Peter. Next in alphabetical order is Richard Frost.
Hi, I'm an upstate New Yorker. I was born in Glens Falls. Went south for a lot of my education because I thought Glens Falls was too cold, and somehow I ended up here in Plattsburgh over the last 40 years. I spent my professional career practicing medicine. I retired a few years ago. Most of my time now is spent writing, primarily regional history and travel. And I've been active with some of the nonprofits in the area, including Adirondack Center for Writing, Adirondack Architectural Heritage, and the Adirondack Foundation. Having heard the prior talk, my dog is sitting here next to me and is now jealous. And so I'll have to figure out how I'm going to address that.
Thank you. And thank you so much for being a part of the board. We're happy to have you. Next on the alphabetical list is Alan McAvoy.
Hi, Alan McAvoy. I actually work at Queen's University in Kingston, but I've been a longtime listener of NCPR. So when the opportunity came up to put my name forward to join, I was delighted to do so. Love the programming and love listening to what's happening south of the border. And my wife and I spend a lot of time up in Alexandria Bay and Watertown. So we love upstate New York and hope to get back one day once all this is all over. So that's a bit about me as well.
Well, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and I hope to get back up to Kingston. So I hope being able to take the ferry over and
yeah, we miss it. We definitely miss it. Yeah.
Maybe we could arrange a prisoner swap.
Yeah, I'll swap with you, Alan. Love to see my parents again.
Yeah. So delighted to be here today.
Well, we're thrilled to have you, and especially at a time when we can't easily get across the border, it's really important to have advocates on our side over on the other side of the border. So thrilled that we can add you to the board.
And I actually took a picture of the NCPR Chico bag, and
that's right. I saw that.
Yeah, had one of your colleagues posted on the Instagram on the weekend. So little things, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Well, much appreciated.
You're welcome.
And finally, Briana Moskowitz.
Hi, I don't see myself on the screen because I keep getting this icon of a phone.
Oh, we see you.
Okay. My name is Briana Moskowitz. I taught linguistics at UCLA for a number of years, then went back to school and got an MBA and did a bunch of things with that and decided I missed teaching. So I went back and became a high school math teacher. And I taught in Los Angeles, England, Russia, and China. And then I retired and came here and helping to raise my granddaughter. And I love the station. I think it's wonderful. And I'm really happy to be able to participate.
Well, we are thrilled to have you participate. And I was just going to say, if you've got that view button in the upper corner of your screen, if you click on it, you should be able to choose gallery view and see all of us at all times.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Briana,
Well, I would just like to add quickly that it's really great to have the four of you joining the Executive Council, and hopefully you'll find it a rewarding and worthwhile experience. So thanks. I think the next item here on the agenda is back to Mitch here for the station manager's report, which I think should be pretty good after the fundraiser.
Yes, although I think most of the details, I'll throw that to Lizette on the fundraiser. But I'll say as the station manager, how thrilled I was that our fundraiser was as successful as it was. It ran from
October
2 Mondays
12th.
ago. Yes, the 12th through this Monday at 4:45 p.m. And we made our goal. Lizette will give all the details, but it was a terrific. I guess what I can say about it was really a terrific team effort. The things that make our station great, the fact that all of us are really committed to high quality local public radio, really proved to be the case during this fundraiser. That was really what brought me back to the North Country, was the team spirit and the real commitment that everybody has to doing projects like this. We heard from so many places around the region, so many places around the country, and obviously into Canada as well, that it was really, I think in the 15 plus months that I've been here, it's really been the most successful drive we've undertaken. So extremely big pat on the back to Lizette and everybody on the NCPR staff for really coming together. Bonnie North, our Director of Audience Programs and Outreach, is on this call as well. You can wave to the assembled masses, Bonnie. But she played a huge role in making sure that the on-air product got along really well with what we were trying to do from a behind-the-scenes standpoint. So it was really a really terrific fundraiser. I just wanted to bring people up to date on a couple of other things that that we're doing. Obviously, we've been covering the COVID crisis pretty consistently over the course of the last 8 months or so. We continue to make it very possible for people to just access our COVID coverage in one place. We gave up our daily live blog on COVID. I think it was either late August or early September, primarily because politics were starting to heat up, and we really wanted to free up our news staff to be able to cover other things without sort of being bound to live blogging about the coronavirus. But it's still a huge part of what we do, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, you can always access our COVID coverage throughout the North Country at ncpr.org/COVID. Might be COVID-19. I'd have to check on that. I usually get to it right from the NCPR homepage. We're gearing up for what will undoubtedly be an extremely busy election night and nights to follow the election. every indication is that it will take a while to count all the absentee ballots following election night. And so we'll be sort of all hands on deck until that settles down. But we will be kicking into our election coverage the evening of election night, starting, Bonnie, correct me if I'm wrong, 7 p.m., right?
Yeah, that's when NPR starts their special coverage. And so we'll join them, and they provide a clock throughout the night and into the morning where we can take a break and put in our own regional information. And we'll take advantage of that probably until at least 2 a.m. Depending on what's happening on the national, that NPR is talking about going that long and possibly going until 5 a.m. when morning edition starts. So we'll see.
Yeah. And we have a whole digital team assembled behind the scenes to continue updating totals for most of the key races around the North Country and entering them. So we have updated information on our website throughout the night. David Summerstein and Julia Ritchie will be co-anchoring our coverage. They'll be socially distanced, but both at the NCPR studios. They'll be in separate studios, but they'll both be on live during those local breaks that Bonnie was mentioning. We'll have other people out in the field, either reporting from home studios or secure locations, and contributing to our coverage throughout election night. So I hope everybody will have a chance to tune in. It should be an election night like no other. We have two versions of Briana on our call right now, so I've muted one of them. Maybe I'll mute the other one and then I'll. Oh. I think we're good now. We ask for feedback at NCPR, but just not that kind of feedback. So I mentioned secure spaces and social distancing. I wanted to give people an update on how we've been able to keep our staff safe and our ongoing plans. We have recently, I think we've mentioned at several meetings before, that we were able to take over some space further down the hall in our Canton studios, formerly occupied by psychologist Dr. Colleen Livingston. We like to say, we like to call the space the Dr. Livingston Suite. And we have recently finished converting part of that suite, thanks to Canton Potsdam Hospital, into an auxiliary studio. So we now have 3 studios at the NCPR headquarters that we're able to put on the air if needed. We have 2 in the main facility, and then the Dr. Livingston studio that's down the hall. Radio Bob hosts his show from down there, but we're able to put it to use if for some reason we need to separate people further than usual, and also if there's a situation in which the main on-air studio becomes contaminated or needs to be closed down. If equipment breaks down, we're able to originate programming from there. One of the good things about having all of this space was during the Senate Judiciary Committee confirmation hearings for the Supreme Court nominee, we were able to actually move our regular program stream to our auxiliary channel. We have a second signal in the St. Lawrence Valley on 88.9 WREM. And we also have a second stream available on our website. So for people who did not want to listen to the Senate Judiciary Committee hearings all day, we were actually able to keep providing our usual program stream, thanks to the engineering talents of Radio Bob, especially. We'd also been operating an emergency studio in the student radio station at St. Lawrence, KSLU, for most of the spring and throughout the summer. We appreciated having access to that space. Since the St. Lawrence students have come back, KSLU is once again a student organization, so we yielded that studio back to them, and I'm pleased to say we seem to have located another space for an emergency studio, and that is in the basement of Gunnison Chapel, which interestingly was where WSLU was located in the 1940s through the 1960s. I've had a chance to check out that space, and it is connected to the university chaplain's office. However, it still looks like a radio studio. It still has soundproof glass. It still has acoustic tiles on the wall, and it's really just being used as storage at the moment. So tomorrow I have a meeting with the IT department on campus and with the university chaplain, and we're going to finalize plans to set up a temporary, hopefully never needed to be used studio, but in the studios that were originally our home for something like 20 years in the early history of WSLU. And so with Paul on the call, I do want to give Paul and Marion as well a big thank you to St. Lawrence University and Jeff as well for making that space available to us. Just a couple of other quick updates. As some of you know, we're still holding tight on updating or on hiring additional staff. St. Lawrence is in a hiring pause, but we're optimistic that we'll be able to make some hires in the coming months. Radio Bob is in the process of his multi-year retirement plan. And so we will need a new engineer sooner rather than later. We also have a development associate position that's open. We have Brian Mann's position as he had been Adirondack Bureau Chief. Emily Russell has moved into that position. So we have a reporter job in Plattsburgh that's open now. And we also have a need for a comptroller or accountant, which is another one of, and a digital journalist as well, or a digital editor, to replace Dale Hobson, who retired at the beginning of September. Paul Redfern and I have been working on plans to hopefully do some hiring in the months to come. And so I'm really hoping that I'll have a more thorough update on our staffing at the next Executive Council meeting. And finally, the strategic planning process is hopefully going to take a big step forward in the coming weeks with the staff SWOT analysis now scheduled. I have to touch base with Jeff after this meeting just to confirm the 2 dates that we talked about, but you can consider it confirmed. It'll be a single session on both the Monday and the Tuesday, which I think is the 16th and the 17th of November. And that's the same SWOT analysis that the Strategic Plan Committee itself did a couple of months back. So those were the updates that I have from the station manager's office. I don't know, Bob, should I just turn things over to Lizette to update us on the fall fundraiser?
Sure, that sounds great.
Okay.
Great. Well, hello, everybody. So as Mitch mentioned, our fall fundraiser was a success, and we're so grateful for that. It was slated to start October 12th, and it did, but and was actually slated to end on October 23rd, which would have been the Friday. But given the hearings, the Amy Coney hearings, there was interruption, of course, in our ability to fundraise during that time, because our mission, of course, we made sure that everyone got to hear the hearings. So we did shift the end date to Monday, the 26th, to kind of make up for some of those hours we couldn't fundraise. As a result, we did come in on goal. And actually our current total right now is $356,980. So it was a really great success. And we're so just grateful to all the friends that came out and got us to the end.
Lizette, could you repeat that number again?
$356,980.
Thanks.
Thank you. Of course, with the Coney hearings, we did have to pivot a little bit. We had to certainly change gears. Bill, our Director of Digital Services immediately went and ramped up our digital services, which was really great because honestly, the staff just came together and they were all completely on board with just getting out there, getting the message out digitally. There was a lot of creative work that was happening on social media. So if you haven't had a chance yet, please do go and take a peek at some of those really fun videos, those fundraising videos that we did during that time. As Mitch mentioned, of course, and Bonnie may want to speak to this, but we did switch gears to WREM, which was an added value service to folks who didn't want to tune into the hearings. They could actually get our regular programming. Bonnie, did you want to speak about that at all, or?
Yeah, that was a decision we made when we found out that the hearings were going to happen. And I think that was like the Thursday before we were going to start the fund drive, that they were going to start the same day. We all just sort of punted and said, okay, how can we do this? We need to bring the hearings. This is crucially important to the country for people to hear this, but there are going to be people who don't want to hear this, and how do we serve them? And so we thought about using, I think I went to Bob and said, is there any way we can take over WREM? Can we put our programming on there? The one thing, of course, we couldn't do was send it out over the broadcast. We don't have transmitters on that, for that frequency, but we were able to at least put it online, and the people in Canton and Potsdam who can hear it over the air were able to do that. And I did get a lot of emails come in from listeners around the region saying, thank you so much for providing that, because I can go back and forth. I can kind of dip my toe into this and find out what's going on, and then I can go back, and if I want to listen to this or I want to hear the music shows, whatever it happens to be. So it's one of those things where I'm looking at WREM in a programming capacity as like, oh, there are some other things we might be able to do with that, to further enhance the service that we provide the region. So no firm things yet to announce on that, but it's like, okay, this worked. Let's see what else we can do. So that's where we are with that. But it also helped us with the fundraising for those 3 days. It meant we didn't have to extend an entire week of fundraising, which we didn't want to do. So we were able to keep the momentum going despite all of the other external things that were happening.
In addition to streaming it, of course, just on WREM, we did actually digitally stream that as well. So people were able to actually get that stream right from our mobile app, as well as from a link on our website that linked them out to the WREM. So it certainly did open up the possibilities for fundraising, because we did have messaging on there, but also giving people the ability of just to listen to our regular normal broadcast. So that was a huge value added service, again, that we offered, in addition to just the other amazing things that happened during this fundraiser. And the team really just came together. By the time we could go on air and talk to the audience, the comments, I mean, one of my favorite parts of fundraisers is just fielding some of those calls, reading those comments, feeding those comments back onto the on air, and getting those messages that people share with us out there, because they're just so beautiful. It's amazing the support that we get. And we were concerned, COVID has been a very real thing in our area, and in everybody's area, I should say. And we didn't know what the impact was going to be on our fall fundraiser. But by goodness, our supporters came through again. So all I can say is thank you. I mean, seriously, really grateful. Our team did amazing. And yeah, if anybody has any questions, let me know. I'll have more data as the week goes by, because we are still factoring checks that will come in toward this. But in about a week or so, I should be able to have some analysis on all of this. So.
And that's something I think, just to chime in, something that's been a big sort of paradigm shift for us when we're all located in the same place and the mail comes on a regular basis. We can add in the checks on a daily basis and have a really good opportunity and ability to track how the fundraiser is doing from funds that come in through the mail. But with the team not on the ground in the radio station itself every day, our ability to get the mail and just physically access the checks that have come in is different than it usually is. So we get those, twice a week now. And so that's one of the reasons people always wonder, why don't you have one of those thermometers on your website that shows how far you've gotten close to the goal? And it would be misleading because we would have no update or, an unrealistic update for a few days, and then suddenly a big jump, and then things would settle down again, and then another big jump 3 days later. So,
right. We certainly had to make adjustments as we did in the spring. One of the key things, one of the key challenges that the development department had to contend with was how to field phone calls. So we had to, St. Lawrence was wonderful about getting us on a Skype for Business account that allowed us to simultaneously ring and be able to field calls. It wasn't without its glitches here and there, but certainly better than not having it at all. So again, we made adjustments as our team is so good at doing, and just came together to make sure that we were moving forward and focused on that goal. So yeah. Did anyone have any questions? Awesome. Well, great. Thanks, guys.
Okay, thanks, Lizette. I guess we can move on to the Executive Council committee structure that the Executive Committee, too many executives here, has been working on. One thing I'll just comment on, you'll notice the agenda now has suggested times in there. We talked about that. That's aspirational, but it's to give us an idea so we can try to stay more or less on time.
Bob, if I can jump in for 1 second, I've gotten a report in just the last 2 minutes from 2 other committee members. Mark Dwanzik had a late conflict crop up, and that's why he is not here. And Andy Gustafson reports that the hurricane that hit the southeast coast knocked out power and Wi-Fi in his area, so he's not able to join us either.
Oh, okay.
Is the second person?
Andy Gustafson.
Okay, thanks for that update. Before I get into the report, just very quickly, I was looking at the bylaws again, and I think all members of the council should have a copy of the bylaws. It's a really quick read, and I recommend it from the point of view, it sort of gives you an idea of why we exist. We're sort of a strange bird here. We're not a typical governing board. We're really here because of National Public Radio sort of guidelines that every station have a community council of some type or board. And we were formed by the university, and they appointed the original members. And since then, we have been electing our own replacement members. The bylaws call for somebody to, for some ex officio people to be on the council to represent the Board of Trustees and the university. And I think I'm correct. I know Paul represents the university. I think we've got Marion and Jeff who are representing the board. Is that correct? I think. Okay.
Yeah, it's correct.
Okay, great. So they're ex officio, but they're there to represent the interests of the board and really sort of, you could almost call them like minders or something, just to keep us pointed in the right direction. Make sure we don't get off on a tangent. And of course, Mitch is very involved in working with the Executive Council, again, also to help keep us pointed in the right direction. But when I came on a couple of years ago, I went, I think the first meeting was a phone meeting, and then I drove up to Canton or someplace and got a little free lunch, and we sat around, and everyone knew everyone. I didn't know anybody, but I knew of some of the people, but we talked a little bit, and then we got the spiel from the station folks, and we talked a little more, and we went home, and that was all fun and good, and people piped up with some suggestions here and there. But it seems like that talented group of people could be better utilized by the station. and we really are an interesting, diverse group of people from all over the listening area. So in talking to Linda Cohen and Mitch initially, and then with Julia and Ann, we felt that it would be a good idea to set up committees whose purpose was to focus on various aspects of the station and to help the station in those specific areas. And I'll get to that in a second. But so because of, as a result of that, we have established 5 committees, and we'll go over that in a bit. But so we've established 5 committees, and what we're planning to do here is send out a request. I'm not sure how we're going to do it, but Mitch is working on that. We'll send out a request to all members of the council to see what they're interested in, and we'll go over the committees in a second, but to see what they're interested in, and so they can sign up for a committee. And you can sign up for more than one if you're a glutton for punishment and have nothing else to do. But we do expect each council member to serve on at least one committee. And that's really your main expectations being on this council now, is to be on one of those committees. And you, as I said, you can be on more than one if you want. Once we get the feedback from the council members, what committees they're interested in, we will notify all of the committee members sort of how that's all played out. We might find that if a lot of people sign up for one committee and hardly anybody for anyone else, we might have to see, talk to folks and see if we can get some people to change, maybe they're interested in something else. But that's the way that procedure will go for getting us off the ground. A staff member from the station will be on each committee. And this is very important because our purpose of these committees is to help the station. And the best way to know how we can help the station is to have somebody from staff on that committee. For instance, Lizette would be on the advancement committee, So how can we help her? How can we help raise the money? That'll be sort of the charge for that committee. So there'll be somebody, a staff member on each one. And they're there to guide us, but not to run the committee. I mean, each committee will have its own chair, and we will, that chair and the committee members will do their thing. But as I say, the staff member there is for guidance, to help us and to make sure we're working on things that really do make a difference, excuse me, for the station. The chair, excuse me, the chair of each committee will be appointed initially here by the executive committee, and to get things rolling. Excuse me. One of the expectations is that before each council meeting, each committee will submit a written report to Mitch and to me of what's happened since the last report was, and this written report should come out at least a couple weeks in advance so we can look at it and mail it out to everyone else on the committee. Then at the actual council meeting, each committee chair will have an opportunity to sort of give the highlights, but we won't need a recitation of the report. And it'll also give more opportunity for council members to talk about that report at the meeting. Let's see, I think I covered that. So there will be time on the agenda once we get going for committee reports. And now the committees. As the agenda shows, the first one we list is advancement. And again, we're in the initial stages here. Some of these things might be fine-tuned and adjusted, but it looks like for advancement, the goal here is to help the station with underwriting, fundraising, and major donors. It's all about where's the money. And that's probably, I won't say it's the most important, but it probably is. At most organizations, you can't get ahead without the money. So, and our job there will be to help Lizette and give, in any way we can. The next committee here is community outreach, and community outreach is like ambassadors for the station, local, and I also think like local needs and issues too. In other words, the community outreach committee can be reporting back to the station on what some of the local issues are and what are the needs in the community. What are they looking for from the station? And I think, Mitch, you mentioned that it would be, is it Bonnie North, right? That would probably be. Yes.
I think Bonnie being the director, audience programs and outreach. I think especially audience and outreach are two of the key parts of that when it comes to community outreach. And I think as needed, it'd be nice if other people on the staff, if that committee is tackling a particular issue, Bonnie might find it would make sense to have David Summerstein or somebody else on the staff come to one of those meetings on an ad hoc basis. But I think she would be the perfect staff liaison in this case. Right.
Yeah. For instance, like Lizette or Bonnie, they're the lead person that the committee or the committee chair would go to first, just so things don't get too confused. The next committee, also important, would be, so far we've named it Facilities and University Relations. And that committee would deal with facilities, university relations. But really, its objective here is, how can, the station help the university? How can the university help the station? What does the university expect from the station, et cetera? So it's all of that, plus the issue of what is the best facilities for the station going forward. And Paul and I talked, and we think Paul's a natural for that, to be on that committee. And we've also asked Paul to be on the executive committee with us. So again, other people might be involved. We might have Jeff or Marion get involved in those too, et cetera. But Paul will be the lead person with that. The next committee is nominating, and we really want to change the name of that to nominating and governance. So it's more than just, choosing or the officers for the next year, but also governance includes a broader scope of long-term succession planning within the council, and anything else that might come up along those lines.
Can I jump in for a second?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and that was actually the nominating committee is one of the only sort of designated committees by statute that was already part of the bylaws. And I think it sort of fell off the radar at some point in the Executive Council's history. But one of the things that we talk a lot about at the radio station itself is how the face of the North Country is changing, and our ability to grow relies on our ability to continue reaching new audiences. And I think one of the ways that we can do that is by making sure that we reach out to other communities to have them represented on the Executive Council itself, whether it's different demographic groups or different regions of the North Country represented, just making sure that we cover as wide a swath of our potential audience as we can on this board. And so I think everybody has sort of a different network they can reach out to. But I think it's really important to find other people who might have an interest in helping shape this station in the years to come.
Yeah, great. And And one thing there too about nominating and governance, the officers, essentially the chair, vice chair, and for our purposes also our secretary, and immediate past chair. Immediate past chair technically is not an officer on the, actually technically, I guess Linda's not even on the council anymore, but she doesn't need, no one needs to be on the council to be on a committee, by the way. We might find somebody who's not on the council, but could really be helpful in, say, facilities or advancement. We could recruit that person could be recruited to be on that committee, could be, lend a hand. But the chair and vice chairs serve 1-year terms. We're limited to 3 successive 1-year terms. So again, that's where the each year the nominating committee will decide what they want to do there and what they want to recommend to the full council. The chair and vice chair cannot be on the nominating committee. And I think that, and the other committee, as I said, is the executive committee. And we've been meeting regularly with Mitch and to just see what's going on, help him. He's helping us, pointing us in the right direction, and also making sure that way it's easier for him to stay in touch with, for Mitch to stay in touch with the council. So that's, I think, working out real well. And with Paul joining us on that committee, again, we'll have a little more input actually from the university too. So let me look at my notes here. I think that pretty much covers it. One thing I want to do is actually, technically the bylaws say that the chair can just appoint these committees, and but I really like sort of an affirmation or a vote here by the council that we approve of this concept and this idea in these committees. But before I do that, I want to just open this up to, does anyone have any questions on this, please, or ideas?
Well, I'm not technically a member, as you know, but I do think it's a very good idea to have off-board members on the committees, because it builds a pipeline for the development committee to look at as well.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, good. Well, good. And any other questions or comments?
Yeah, Bob, I would add from my perspective, I think that this is a good step forward from a governance standpoint, from a leadership, succession standpoint, from just being able to recruit other members eventually for the executive committee standpoint. So overall engagement, and I'm very supportive of the committee structure.
Great, thanks.
And I'll jump in and just say, I think the great thing about this plan is that it will sort of allow us to have more continuity between one meeting and the next, and involve people in a way that's more organic than, what you were saying as you kind of preface this discussion. I would like this to be an experience that's more than just showing up at a meeting every 3 or 4 months and talking about a couple of issues. I hope that a lot of what we talk about at these meetings can be driven by what takes place at the committee meetings in between the full executive council meetings.
Good. Yeah. And I'll just reiterate again that the council, we have no governance responsibilities, and our real objective there is to be an asset to the station, a tool for the station to use. And I think by having these committees, the station will be better able to do that, to use that. For instance, with advancement and fundraising, Lizette and her little team there, they sort of take care of everything, but to be able to all of a sudden have 4 or 5 other people who might willing to take on some assignments, maybe make some contacts, do some outreach, things that they would have to try to do themselves, can be a big asset to the station. I mean, we're basically have the potential to double the staff size here. And
Free labor.
yeah. And again, you know, I mean, we're volunteers, but still, I think most of us would be able to and would enjoy feeling that they're making a difference with the station, and these committees will help us do that. And so
I would love for the committee to feel like they're making a difference in that way as well. I mean, that's certainly encouraged. So I'm excited about that. Thank you.
Good. So I guess, is everybody in favor of this, or does anybody have any concerns? Or yes, we'll just sort of say, yeah, let's put it this way. If anyone has any concerns or is not in favor of it, let us know, or let me know now.
I just wanted to ask a quick question.
Yes.
So will the committees be sort of given their own charge from the beginning, or will they have a chance to develop the charge of the committee?
I think, and this is my personal opinion, okay? And I think since this is brand new, we're just starting this, initially, the committees will have a charge based on what we've talked about at the executive committee. We've already talked about that. You know, what are their broader goals or charge to do? But once the committee starts working with their staff person, that will really help refine it, because those needs, that, you know, what that committee should be working on will change from time to time based on the needs of the station. So whether it's Lizette or Bonnie or somebody will go to their committee and say, look, you know, this new issue has come up, or we have a concern here. Can we work on this, please? And, you know, then the committee will say, hopefully will say, yeah, let's get going on it. So it's a partnership here. It's a team, right? But it's not all top down. And from that point of view, I think that, say, the community outreach committee, there's no reason why they can't decide that, you know, they think something is sort of important. And if they run it by Bonnie and Bonnie says, well, yeah, that might make sense, you know, see what you can figure out or something, you know. Her job is going to keep you going off on a real tangent for something the committee might think, well, this really makes sense. And yet we have no idea why that's really not a good idea. So that's why it'll be helpful to have station personnel on every committee, and it'll be important. So it's give and take, and we'll see how this goes. I think a year from now, hopefully we'll have learned a lot, and we'll see what works and what's not working, and we'll continue to refine and make it better as we go. Any other questions on that discussion? You will be hearing from Mitch regarding signing up. And as I say, please bear with us here. We're, you know.
Bob, I'm going to jump in if that's okay. It's Callie. I'm not sure if you saw my hand raised a few times.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I have two kind of thoughts I want to share. One is I think there's a strategic planning committee, so please don't forget about that. I think also this is a pretty big leap. One of the older members on this committee, I can't speak for everybody who's been on this for a while, and this is a pretty big leap, which I think, and I was really glad to hear St. Lawrence University applauding this. I think that's really important. So I think it's a great evolution and a great direction, but it's a pretty big leap from where we've been. Anyway, I think that's just important particularly for our newer members, that some of us old timers, this is new for us. I mean, I felt like I love being involved in this in a very casual and passionate way. So I'll leave it at that.
Well, no, that is a good point, and it is a big leap, and that's why I said we're going to find out how this works, and this next year will be an evolution, and so we'll see, and we'll need everybody's feedback, and we'll need a lot of good, frank discussion. Now, concerning the reason I did not mention the strategic planning committee, that's really not a committee of the council. My understanding is that's the college's committee, and there are a couple council members on it, as well as staff and council trustees. Is that pretty much correct, Paul?
Now, let me jump in and say that the strategic planning committee was appointed by Linda when she was the executive council chair, and it included some trustees from the college as well as members of the executive council.
And it's intended to be very short term.
Yep.
Whereas these others would be ongoing.
Right. Okay. I didn't realize that. I just sort of thought that came from the president or the board of trustees that they needed to do strategic planning. So this isn't college strategic planning. It's
Ncpr
station
planning. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, good. Yeah. So I stand corrected there. Okay. I didn't have anything else on this. Please, if anyone has any questions or comments or anything, make sure you let Mitch know, let me know, let the whole group know. Whatever works. So we'll keep our fingers crossed, but I think this could really be beneficial.
And I think I would just jump in and say that, I don't think it shouldn't represent a huge additional time commitment for anyone. So don't feel like we're trying to put you to a second 40-hour-a-week job by asking people to serve on these committees. But hopefully it'll just, I think, enhance it'll make it a more rewarding part of being on the executive council.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. As I said, we're volunteers. Each committee will meet. They'll decide the amount of time and effort they want to put in. If the staff person on that committee seems to be asking for too much, the committee can push back and say, we don't think we can do all of that for you. What's your priority? What do you want us to do? So yeah, we'll see how it goes. So good. I think the next issue, if there's nothing else, was new business. Do we have anything, Mitch?
We do not. It's just a chance for other people to bring things forward if people wanted to raise something at this meeting or ask questions.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, the bylaws do say that if any council member wants something on the agenda, they notify the chair, I don't know what it was, a week or two in advance, it'll get on the agenda. But it also says that during any council meeting, any council member can raise an issue for discussion. So always remember that this is, you can raise anything at any time. Mitch, I had one sort of request for you when you get around to it. And can we get an updated sort of membership list now that we have the new members, with ideally with contact information and also to the extent we know that information, when their 9-year potential service term limits would run, and whether they're ex officio, that sort of information would be really helpful, I think, for us to communicate with each other. And
yes, some people have also kind of raised the idea of having a kind of a full, membership packet for being on the executive council, with some background about how the station works, and so that everybody knows who's who at the station itself, and so that the station knows who's on the executive council, and basically kind of increase the flow of information across the council. So yeah, I think that's a great idea. At the very least, to have everybody's email address in one central document, how long they've served on the council, and where in the region they're located.
Right. Yeah. And I think phone numbers would be helpful, unless council members don't want their phone numbers listed, but that would allow communications. Yeah, I think that would be real helpful. I think you mentioned that. You talked about that at executive committee meeting.
We won't share anybody's social security number.
Yeah.
Everybody else does.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Let's see. I just wanted to fit it in here. As Linda mentioned, she's not on the council anymore as such, but as a member of the committee, of the executive committee, and having the position of immediate past chair, which we created, we're grateful for her willingness to continue her close affiliation with the station, because I think it's important from the point of view of institutional memory that we don't, when some people leave the executive or the executive council, they just don't disappear. To the extent we can continue to utilize their skills and benefits, it'll really help us out. So thank you, Linda, for staying very involved.
Well, you're very welcome. And I would like to further that comment by saying that if Lizette thinks it would be helpful, I would love to establish an alumni association so that we don't lose contact with some of the people that have been historically involved in this effort, and keep the communication open, and hopefully maybe even some of their wallets.
I think that's a brilliant idea, Linda. Absolutely. Let's do it.
Great. Okay, good. Next thing on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the August meeting. They're here somewhere. We all should have had a copy of them mailed to us. Did anyone have any corrections or comments on the minutes of the August meeting? I think that's where we re-elected the officers and the new members of the council were added. So
it was the annual meeting in which each of the staff, the department directors got to provide an update on the year that was at NCPR.
Good. Okay. Yes, I'm sorry. Well, can we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Okay, thank you. And a second?
I think Margot just seconded.
Okay, good. Okay. Everyone.
Who made the motion?
Hannah did.
Okay.
Everybody in favor? My video is frozen, but I'm raising my hand. Do we have any abstentions or objections or no votes? No. Okay. We have that passed. Mitch, I think you said there were no public comments and no one has popped on today, have they?
That's correct. We had no public comments specifically. We get lots of public comments, but none specifically geared towards this meeting, and we had no requests to address us at this meeting itself.
Yeah, again, looking at the bylaws, it's interesting because it says a certain amount of time will be allocated to public comments for the whole meeting, and each speaker is limited to 3 minutes, et cetera. So we have procedures there to give everybody who wants to have a voice and something to say to do that, and at the same time to not let the meeting get out of control. So I do recommend just looking at the bylaws. We do have the authority to amend the bylaws too, if we wish. So, but they're pretty good, and they're a helpful tool to guide us. Anybody else have some comments or anything they want to say? Oh, I can't believe if we were meeting in person, we would be all afternoon to get this done.
Well, I'm sorry we weren't able to provide everybody lunch or a snack as part of this meeting. That was always one of the big perks of making it to the meetings in person. We should have some kind of drive-up service available. I just have a quick question just to confirm which member of this committee's phone number ends in 208. I just want to make sure that we recognize everybody that's here. We still have one person that's on.
Sorry. Yeah, that's Susanna Pillar.
Oh, hi, Susanna. Hi.
Hi. Yeah, that's the key number. Yep.
Okay. Just making sure Anne added you to the list of those present.
Thank you.
Okay,
Sure.
good. I had one question. Last year you did that great calendar of
Dogs.
and stuff. Are you doing a calendar again this year?
We did not do a calendar again this year, mostly because our digital editor who put that together for us last year has now retired. So we're going to have to revamp and figure out the best course of action. So I'm thinking next year we'll do it again, but unfortunately there won't be one on the table for this year.
Okay. That's,
sorry, guys.
Yeah. Because I was thinking, the calendar is a great tool. You can sell them. They won't raise a lot of money necessarily, but you can also send them to major donors or people you're cultivating. It has a lot of opportunities if you do produce it, and by selling some, maybe you can get the costs covered, or even getting people to underwrite the calendar. I don't know, did you have an underwriter for your calendar this past one you did?
I don't
think
believe
we did.
so.
No.
Yeah. At the Tug Hill Tomorrow Land Trust, we get a number of businesses will sign up to underwrite the calendar, and so it costs us nothing when all is said and done. So something to think about.
This is Ann. I've got a question about, we don't have like a website where you can buy gifts like mugs and t-shirts and the grocery bags and those kinds of things.
No, we do not. We don't have an e-commerce site for selling our premiums or our thank you gifts. That said, we are looking at being able to sell them, just not necessarily through an e-commerce site. We had an e-commerce site years and years ago, and it just became, I guess, a maintenance nightmare. And of course, the issues with processing and everything else. So, that was many, many moons ago. I can certainly bring it up to our digital guy and see about the possibility, but likely we can find a simpler solution. And I have actually been in touch with our comptroller to talk about selling some of these things. So
I'd probably buy a lot of those things.
That'd be great.
Well,
Yeah.
This is coming actually. So we are looking at selling the t-shirts and the hats and stuff like that for Christmas gifts. So that's how the conversation came about. So
What we wouldn't want is for people to buy them instead of donating to the station.
Correct.
Yeah. Does the college have a online bookstore e-commerce set up?
Yes, they do. The bookstore has their own. I don't know if they. You know what? Honestly, I've not looked into it. I hate to say that out loud, even, but I don't really know if they have an online. They must have an online presence of some sort. But I'd have to look into it to answer effectively.
Yeah, they have an online presence of some sort.
Right. But I just don't know how it works or how we would utilize theirs to sustain our thing. So again, a lot to consider here. Thank you.
Yeah. I would just say that before we do the next calendar, I do have to get a new swimsuit.
Oh boy.
The full body kind, right?
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Could turn you into an Inuit person.
Right. Good.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else? Anybody? Paul, did you have anything else you wanted to?
Paul actually had to sign off of this. He had a hard stop at 4:00 to go to another meeting, but sends his thank yous to everyone. And I wanted to say thank you for such a wonderful turnout, and really welcome, a very warm welcome to our newest executive council members. We are thrilled to have you on board, and looking forward to a productive relationship with all of you.
Yeah. Well,
Yay.
good.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah. Well, yes, and
Thank you.
really, thanks all of you, because it's it takes time to get involved in something like this, and I appreciate it, and we all appreciate it. So if there's nothing else, I guess we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion made by Julia.
Okay, thanks, Julia. Second? Okay, Margot?
I think that was Margot.
Yep, thanks.
Gonna say people just don't want this to end.
Yeah. Okay, well, it's so nice to see other faces when you're stuck in your house all day. But
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
well, thanks.
We're getting to the time of year when we really are going to be stuck in our
Yeah.
houses.
Yeah.
All in favor of the motion? Aye.
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 Okay, I guess we're all set. Thanks so much. And I think you did send out a email telling us when the next meetings were, right, Mitch?
Yeah, there should be, it should be in your email. I can send it, I will certainly send it out again. And you should be hearing from Julia in the coming days, hopefully by this weekend, with the sign-up sheets for the various
Oh, okay.
committees or subcommittees.
Yeah, great. It looks like our next meeting is February the 18th, 3 p.m. It's a Thursday.
Oh, that's why I had circled that date.
So good. Okay, well, thanks so much. And until we see you again, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Yep.
Bye.
They will.
Bye.